And greetings and welcome to the QCast. This is season 4, episode 48. And here we are, folks. We've made it through the championship weekend. We started doing these in-season QCasts in October, starting to talk. We started talking about potential top 25 teams and all these things. And here we are, we're through Fort Wayne. And I am incredibly excited to have two members of the national championship team, Trine. We have Coach Brooks Miller and we have sophomore Aidan Smylie, a sophomore from Franklin, Tennessee. Aidan, this is your first time on the QCast, so I should start with you. Aidan, thank you so much for being here. How are we feeling today?
Well, I'm a junior actually, but
junior.
Yeah, it's great. After that win, I still haven't really let it down yet. Still been, I don't know, getting those texts from family members and talking to people about it. Walking to class today, every classroom you go in, the teacher and some people in there have something to say about it. So it's been a pretty cool feeling right now.
I can't imagine as we look at the hardware, we look at the net, we look at the bracket behind you guys. And Brooks, I talked to you earlier in the season and we had a great conversation about your background and kind of coaching philosophies in your team. And I think it was obvious to everyone that watched that interview what you've been building there. What does it feel like here? Kind of year, I think this is year 13. This hasn't been an overnight thing. This hasn't been a thing where you come in and you get a bunch of transfers, and you have built this, Brooks, from the right way. You've built it the right way to be here as a national champ, Coach. Like, what does this feel like today?
Well, it's a lot of people have asked you that, obviously, the last couple of days, but I just think when we looked around the locker room and you see the type of guys we got like Aidan, there's nobody like Aidan Smylie. I played football, basketball, baseball. We've talked about it before. The things he contributes to winning are just remarkable, and it was so awesome to see him on a national stage to show everybody what a machine he is. And he's not alone. The guys, they just played so well together. I think the one thing over the 13 years I've been most proud of is we have finished in the top 4 of the MIAA every year for those 13 years. So we've always had a chance. We were knocking on the door. Even our early days at Hershey Hall, we finished second in the conference, as high as second in the conference. But once we got to the MTI Center, the job changed significantly, I would say. We've been able to retain players a lot better based on the resources we have here, being a basketball-only facility, and being able to attract guys like Aidan from out of state. And I think it's been a significant advantage for us. But watching Aidan and his team come together, and we did have some transfers, but we've always had some transfers,
absolutely,
along with some really good freshmen. We've been able to do that. We brought Pete Smith in from Hope one year. He was a JV player for 2 years at Hope, and he left here as a senior as the MVP of the conference with our first conference championship in 2019. So it's just been awesome to watch these guys come together and share the ball and attack the ball the way they did. And there is no doubt, no question, we played 2 of the best games execution-wise we've ever had teams play here in the Final Four against 2 great teams in Trinity and Hampden-Sydney.
And for those tuning in, and certainly for Aidan, Coach isn't joking. If you go back and watch that QCast from earlier in the year, I think, had you just beaten Calvin, or I can't remember what game we were talking about, but you said exactly what you just said. Like, I've never seen a guy that contributes more to winning than Aidan Smylie. And folks, he told me this like 60 days ago. Check it out. You'll see. I wanted to ask you guys about the championship weekend experience, because there's a lot of teams out there, obviously, that have never been there. And as everyone is starting their off-season grind, guys, and they're thinking about like the dream of getting there, like you guys just did, I want them to understand how special it is. I'm going to give some thank yous, give you guys a second to think about how you want to frame this, but that was one of the best championship weekends that I've ever seen. I think that was my 18th. And I thought the men's basketball committee crushed it. I thought the SID staff crushed it. Shout out to my guy, John Painter, who's awesome, JP. The arena crew, the whole Fort Wayne crew, the officials, I thought, did a great job. Shout out to Jim Haney and Sarah Quattrocki and the roles they played there. The NABC, the coaches, the 4 teams, the fans. It's hard, guys, to make all this go together. It's hard to make that so perfect. Let me start, Aidan, with you as a student athlete. What was it like to go play on that stage and be part of the championship weekend in Fort Wayne?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, I feel a lot of it was definitely because just the arena we were in. It's always a dream just to go in and play in
Right.
a big arena with a bunch of fans, but also just to have like the support we had. I think it made it so much better because you walk out on the in the championship game on the announcements for the starters and all that, it went black. And I mean, I didn't think that would ever be what it would be like. It was insane. I mean, just to hear the cheers and everything from the fans, it just really just hit me. It was like, wow, like we really did something here, and it's just showing. I mean, and then when we walked in the first day into the locker room, when they had like gear on our stuff, on our chairs and everything,
Right.
and our nameplates, it was pretty cool just to be able to experience something like recognized for something, all the work you've put in and everything you've done. So I mean, that's just really cool.
Yeah, I thought, and I just want to get your take, Aiden, before I ask Coach. I mean, I had big time goosebumps when like you guys took the floor, the Trine flags going around, the band's playing, and there's like 4,600 people in there going crazy. Like, how did that feel for you at that moment? Like, that was that pretty freaking cool or what?
Yeah, I like after that, I just stood there and like took it all in for a second. I mean, and we've had big crowds here, but it never meant something like that. And with that many people in front of you to do something that's never been done here, and it just like you just sat there for a second, like, all right, man, like it's all cool and all, but now it's time to lock in. But I mean, it was special to see that many people come out and support us.
And Brooks, how about on your end? I've always felt that like getting to the Final Four is such a huge deal. It just being part of that. Can you talk about what the whole championship weekend experience was like for you, Brooks?
Well, yeah, I can tell you, back in I don't know what year it was, 2016 or 18, when Texas Tech went to the Final Four. Coach Beard invited me up, and I spent Tuesday through Monday night, early Tuesday morning with them, almost a week with them in Minneapolis, and to ride the bus, be out there for practice, and see all that. And I can tell you right now, in Fort Wayne, we were treated the same way those
Yeah.
guys were treated at the elite level. And I can't thank everybody that was involved enough. I don't know enough names to thank everyone, but I know the people, like you said, the Coliseum, the NABC, our liaisons, the coaches that were there to help
Right.
support us and get us back and forth. The communication was awesome. When we walked into that locker room and the way they had things lined up for the guys, it felt like the real deal, and it was the real deal. And we're just very thankful for that atmosphere. And then on Thursday night we had a great crowd there as well.
Yeah.
But you knew you just had to take it one step at a time. And you and I had a short conversation in the hallway when we met each other, I think Wednesday, and you said, yeah, the same thing you just said. It's so special. You just get here, and a lot of things got to go your way. I was like, yeah, Bob, we have to win. Like we
Right.
want to win the whole thing. We got to win the weekend, and we are happy to be here. It was great. But it was a tremendous first class experience, and our administration worked tirelessly to help break that attendance record. That was something that was important. It's something that's been important to us here all year, even at the MTI Center, because that home court advantage,
Right.
that makes such a big difference when you got people there in your corner when you really need it. And we fed off everyone's energy, and give credit to Hampden-Sydney. They traveled tremendously well. I thought that crowd was great, very first class
They
crowd
were.
as well. And it was just an awesome atmosphere. Coach Beard actually flew in for the game. He was sitting in the front row with one of his
Oh,
assistants and
wow.
a good friend of ours, and he was amazed at the Division III level. He'd been at every level except Division III, but to see that, he thought it was a really cool thing.
And going back to when we first talked Wednesday, when I got to town and you were there, we were also talking that when I met you in person for the first time was a year before, and you just came to the Final Four as a spectator. We met in the same lobby about 5 feet away. You were just sitting in a chair. What was it like, Brooks, to go from, you weren't in the tournament last year to this magical season that you have this year? You think about that. You're there as a spectator. You're the winning head coach. Like, is that pretty crazy to kind of try to process that over 12 months?
Yeah, and I'll get a little selfish on that answer. I went there to watch Kevin Vanderstreet speak at the coaches clinic. I wanted to know what he was going to share with us about his teams when he coached at Kelvin, always played their best at the end of the year.
Right.
And we went 12 years at that time and only won one MIAA tournament. And unfortunately, that was the year they canceled the NCAA tournament.
Right.
So I was doing everything I could to research what do we got to do to continue to play better at the end of the year. And he made some fantastic points with us. And he mentioned, the game of basketball is played one way for 36 minutes. And the last 4 minutes is played entirely different, which is something but we practiced it this year. We always played 4-minute games, but we didn't play 4-minute games like, okay, we're up 5 with this 4-minute game. What are we hunting late in the clock? Or we're down 3 with 4 minutes to go. What kind of possessions do we want to get in order to win? So something we knew, but it really hit home. It was probably the most valuable day of our off season. I felt getting to spend that time with Coach Vanderstreet and being there with you guys and getting a chance to meet you and my buddy Cliff Carroll from down at Mary Hardin Baylor, having those conversations. It was great. And I think that's kind of what I took out of that day. And rooting on Coach Fewline, he's a good friend of mine at Mount Union, and always picking his brain and just the relationships you build through those events. But it was a great experience. And now to be there playing and then to hear from all those people after we won, and actually during the entire run, was really cool. It's a neat fraternity, that's for sure.
It is a very close fraternity. As someone that's an outsider to that, you can look at it and see how close all of you are and how deep the relationships are. Aidan, I wanted to talk about the games a little bit, not to dig into both of them in tons of detail. You first get Trinity, which they have been a powerhouse coming out of the NESCAC all season long. You win that game 66-54. You had a monster game in that one, Aidan. You had 10 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 assists. If I recall that game, you did most of your scoring early, but you did everything throughout the game. Talk about how difficult the Trinity game was, and talk about kind of how balanced your team's effort was in that Trinity win.
That was a tough one. That's one. Them and Hampden-Sydney are probably one of the 2 most physical teams I've played against, and they were
right.
I got a hot start at the start of that game when I hit that like hook shot. That was all luck for me right there, and I just felt a little hot after that. So, well, besides that, I think everyone was around 10 to 12 points that game, all 7 or 8 of us. So I feel like for all of us, we just figured that we needed all of us to get a little confidence going for each other. So we were just moving the ball around well, cutting, passing, and just figuring those things out just to get the flow of the game early. And then I think it was our defense that stepped up towards the end of the first half throughout the second. Me and I think Cortez and Fred were talking after the Hampden-Sydney game. We're like, we haven't played this good a defense all year, and it was pretty amazing to lock into the most 2 important games of the year and figure that out and just be able to do what we needed to do with like point of pickup and rebounding, things like that. Because those 2 teams really went for the offensive boards and got a lot of them actually. But that Trinity team was good, and it was a very physical game. I got beat up a lot.
And they made a nice run at you there in the second half, and you guys did a nice job to hold that off and then extend. And then you get to the championship game, Aidan, against Hampden-Sydney, and they've been number 1 for many weeks now. They've probably been never lower than about number 3 all year, starting in week 2 or 3. They've been amazing. They have no weakness really. They're big. They have great guards. They have good bigs. They can shoot it. And you had another really big game in that one. 12 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. Cortez Garland had 22. Drew Moore had 10 and 7. Just another like really balanced game where if I'm trying to pick out who the best player on Trine is, I don't know who to tell you. But talk about the Hampden-Sydney game where you guys get that lead. They made a run there late, but talk about kind of securing the lead and holding on to it against a great team.
I just think we just needed to. We locked in, and we were talking about on the court. Like it was the defense at that end of the game that really was going to win us that, because it wasn't like buckets were easy for either team that whole game. And I just think one of the biggest shots came from Fred, who was on the bench for a little bit before that, coming right off and just hit at the end of the clock shot, that 3. And I think after that, a lot of us knew it was kind of like, all right, we got what I think it was like 4 minutes left or 3 minutes left in the game, and we had that put it up to an 8-point lead. So we kind of just had a little more confidence going into that, and just we had to figure out how to stop them multiple times in a row before anything, because they had some good players, and they got guys who can make plays, and they were offensive rebounding the ball very well throughout that whole game.
Brooks, from your standpoint, I remember somewhere late in the game, I was sitting directly across from you, and I took I zoomed in and I took a picture of you. You were on one knee, and you were just like this, and all of a sudden you looked up at the scoreboard. I just clicked a picture at that moment. It was like you guys were up. I want to say you were up like 6 with 4 minutes to go, and I just wonder when you started feeling, Brooks, like, holy cow, like the national championship is kind of right there to go close out. Like, were you I assume you were just in the moment at all times, but what was that feeling as you're coming down the stretch, those final 4 minutes that Coach Van de Streek talked to you about?
Well, those coming out of that last media timeout, it was just, what are we doing well? What do we got to continue to do well? We try to keep it really simple for these guys, and I think it's something we're going to take from that game and use for the future. And once Fred hit that shot in front of me, I mean, this is exactly what happened. I'll get a little selfish here. When he made that shot, my 95-year-old grandma was there, and when I was a kid, she always promised that she wanted, when I became a Major League Baseball player, that she wanted me to make sure I build a house for her next to mine where she could be my cook and take care of us and do this and that. So, and my grandma, I talked to her after every game, win or lose, and she was able to make that game. She's only been able to make one. And after Fred hit that shot, I was like, please hang on. I can't wait to go over there and give her a hug after this and be the first one that I get to greet and thank her for everything she's done for us and the things she's taught me with her toughness and perseverance. So I started to think that way, but I knew it wasn't over. But we just had to maintain, staying disciplined and make some free throws. But the look on our guys' faces when we called the timeout, I think up 5 with maybe 56 seconds left or whatever it was, I just knew we just had to get the ball to anybody and they were going to knock down free throws. They wanted it so bad. They put in the work and the things that are really unique with us, to have a guy like Aidan Smylie who can guard all 5 positions and Emmanuel Magnanglo who can guard all
Right.
5 positions. The thing we can do that's so different than anybody else watching, when you watch film on Hampden-Sydney or Trinity, well, Aidan can guard the 5 and the guy that sets all the ball screens. So he's switching on to the best guard, and he's the best guard defender
Right.
we have. So he can almost eliminate that situation because he can front the post, which allows us to put Emmanuel on a wing who he can stay in front of and guard, but also be there to block and challenge shots if we get beat. So I think that's been the key to our success defensively is Aidan's ability to defend a 5-man, allowing Emmanuel to guard either an off guard or a small forward so he can come and challenge blocks on the backside. And I don't know what the exact number was. I've watched the game a few times since then, but I think we really got them to settle for challenged mid-range jump shots, and that was huge for us because we were able to come
Right.
up with some long rebounds and things. But those are the 2 guys that if you're starting a defense, anybody in the country, I don't know if anybody else has 2 guys like that, and then everybody else can play off them with our high level of IQ with Cortez, Fred, and Nate Tucker was significant.
Yeah, that sequence for those tuning in, pretty unbelievable. I believe Trine was up 3, and then Cortez Garland goes to the basket with his right hand. I think it was an and one, which must have gone 3 to 6. And then I think after getting a stop is when Fred Garland hits that like late in the shot clock 3 from the left wing to go 6 to 9. And that's when everyone in the building's looking at the scoreboard. It felt like trying to just won the national championship. So pretty special stuff. I know how busy you guys are. And again, I don't want to take a ton of your time, Aidan. So I guess I'll just get some final thoughts from you first and then ask Brooks for his final thoughts. But your fans, Aidan, what they did in taking over that arena, not a gym, but an arena. They set a new attendance record. Not just them. Hampden-Sydney traveled great, and they were awesome. Their fans were great. But boy, it was Trine Nation. I want you to talk a little bit, give a shout out to everyone, from the pep band to the cheerleaders to people that just got in buses or cars and drove over. Want to give you a chance to talk about those folks before we close here.
I mean, it's amazing the community we have here and the people that love watching us play and watching and wanting to come out and see us. I mean, I've never seen anything like it for in a small college like this. And like it comes to friends I know here on campus to people like family members, and they text me all the time like when's the game, all this stuff, and like I can't wait to watch you guys and all this. And I mean, just the love and support that we have from everyone really just it makes us as a team want to like play harder and just give them for them coming to support us and for what they give us, just give them a show. And I mean, they love coming out and seeing what he does, and like that dunk on Calvin and stuff he does. And
Right.
just yeah, it's just a great community to have for. And then it was just lucky for us to be able to play in Fort Wayne, where it's only a 40-minute drive for fans to come out. And think another great thing is the young kids who love watching us play. I mean, after that national championship game, those kids were down there for an extra 40 minutes just wanting to talk to all the players. So I
Right.
mean, it's just nice feeling like you got people who love you, even though like that you don't know that well, and just people who love watching you play the game you love.
And before I ask Brooks for final thoughts, you mentioned I think somehow Emmanuel McDongolo might be the guy that throughout the weekend might be the most underappreciated, and not by you guys, but I mean, holy smokes, is this guy? Does he alter the game? And I had never seen him play in person. I've seen a million games on stream, but to see the way guys get back to the basket and realize he's the guy back there and how their shot looks all of a sudden, and then what he does just to alter the game, it's unbelievable. So I think there's been a lot of Trine players highlighted during since the victory, but maybe he's been the most underappreciated. And I just wanted to make sure that we shouted him out because that dude is an absolute stud and a game changer. Brooks, from your standpoint, first of all, thank you for all your time earlier this season. You've been building this thing up, like I said, the right way. That COVID year, I thought it was the coolest thing ever where you got on that bus and drove to Ashland, Virginia. I don't think I've ever heard of something so cool at a time period where we all needed something. And there was, the D3 hoop season that year just sucked, right? But here you are, willing to get on a bus and Randolph-Macon willing to play you. And I just remember that game. It was like watching The Last Dance when that came. Like we all needed that, Brooks. And I just can't congratulate you enough for like what you've done to build this thing and to lead these guys. Congratulations to you. And I'm just going to kick it to you for final thoughts here on the QCast today, Brooks.
Yeah, thank you. That was a great experience. Josh had to really be willing to do that as well. But I think at Trine, what's great about working here is where a lot of people may have saw COVID as an obstacle, we saw COVID as opportunity. How can we take advantage of whether it was cornering the market to provide? We found ways to provide education for people when other people were shutting it down and afraid to do it.
Right.
We found a way to do it, whether it was on the floor and in the classroom. We did both. We stayed in person the whole time. So it was great for us to have that culmination there at Randolph-Macon. We learned a heck of a lot. Funny thing about it is I had no idea they had won like 40 straight games at home when we agreed to do that game.
Right.
But we learned a lot from them, and Josh and I have maintained contact since then. And Buzz Anthony's actually been texting me back and forth. Him and I had a great conversation about a month ago after he watched us play at Kelvin. He just had so much respect, and he talked about Smylie in particular. He said, "Holy cow, can that kid affect a game?" But I want to talk about what Aidan said. There's a reason the community comes out. Aidan and his teammates spend a lot of time with the kids, whether we're doing our Skills for Success clinics at the YMCA, or there's kids coming to our camps, or we go to the elementary schools a couple times a month and we get the kids fired up to go to school. We're giving them high fives in class. So they do a lot of work in the community, and also they respect how they play. We were just at the radio station and the guy on the radio said, "You guys, you just pass the ball so well to each other." And those are the things we try to talk about. I tell them all the time, listen, it's not about what you do, whether you score 20 points a game or 8 points a game. It's how you play. It's how you do things. It's how you go to class, how you interact with people that people respect and love. And you guys are willing to play in a way that I think is very uncommon. Defensively, you saw it in person. Like, you can't play the way we play if we don't communicate well together, if we're not on the same page. And the only way to do that is to have a high level of respect for one another. And people know that, whether it's they can say it or verbalize it. They just know this group is really connected. Boy, I'd love to be a part of a group like that. And the way we shared the ball offensively and we're willing to kind of stay the course after the first half. We didn't play much differently the second half offensively as we did the first half. We just kind of wore them down with everybody touching it, everybody getting energy. And he hits that three in the corner. The other big shot came from Smylie, and the step back three in the corner, which they had a really good defensive possession. And he hit that with stones of steel, and it just took the air out of them after getting side to side. So there's an emotional part of the game that you can win by just being able to do things the way you want to do them. So I guess that's what I'm most proud of with this team is you can see the joy in their faces, how they play. And that's what I think the people recognize and why they came out to support us the way they did.
Yeah, just huge kudos to you guys and the rest of the whole Trine men's basketball universe, including your fans, the campus. I thought that you talk about like a program getting on the stage and taking advantage of that. Like everyone knows who Trine is right now, and the way you guys conducted yourselves just really, really impressive. Aidan, Smylie, you're awesome, man, and I look forward to seeing you play some more basketball. So we mentioned Aidan, the 6'5" junior, not a sophomore, a junior from Franklin, Tennessee.
He's
Uh,
very detailed. He reminds me of those type of things
I
too.
could tell. I could always tell in the QCast when someone's a detail person, and Aidan
Yeah.
Smylie is. And Brooks, congratulations to you again, and thanks for just kind of all of your time throughout the season. This has been great, and congratulations, guys, to the Thunder on the national championship. It's pretty special, and we look forward to another monster season from you guys next year. I really appreciate your time, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. We appreciate all you and your colleagues, what you guys do for D3 Hoops. Awesome stuff. You help build that crowd too, believe me.
Thank you so much, guys.